Just give me 1 second, 5 seconds to find the right thing to share. So it's also window here. जय तु नित्यम परमोपकार श्री गुरुदेव। जय तु नित्यम परमोपकार श्री गुरुदेव। जय तु नित्यम परमोपकार श्री। All right, welcome to the, which one is it? 10th session, maybe, of architecture of reality and bliss. Last time we discussed we have been discussing Jiva, or who we are, living being, and then last time we started with a Jiva, or matter, the Jain
Ninth session today.
physics, if you will. Okay, ninth session. So, any questions before we start? If anybody has any questions from what we discussed before, I guess nobody posted anything on the group as far as I can tell. So, are you guys thinking about this stuff after the Sunday session is over, or not really?
Does anyone want to summarize a few points?
I will just say sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
One of the things we talked about was the 6 elements of the Jain universe, including a soul or Atma,
Mm-hmm.
then Budgal or matter,
Right.
and then time, space, the medium of rest, and the medium of motion. Primarily, we talked about matter or Budgal, and I think we left off with one question, I think, was how do you see beyond the matter or Budgal? In some cases, there is Budgal and soul in one form, like a living being, and maybe even the idol for Bhagwan. So one of the discussion questions was, how do you, I think Shaylee asked this, how do you see beyond the matter and see the soul in a living being?
Yeah, that's a good summary of what we covered last time. Anushka, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that was a really great summary. I know we started off the class last time with the question, which is, what is the purpose of Bhava or Bhakti in connection to saṃvega-vairāgyārtham? And then we kind of discussed true understanding. And if we do have that, then that is the connection to true faith. But I think there's always that disconnect if you're not having like the true understanding. And then, yeah, I think we mostly focused on matter and kind of we discussed also how every experience or living being has been in infinity parts of like the universe. So we've experienced everything infinity times, which I thought was a really important point because I don't think you really think that you have been or been everything or been everywhere, but you have. And then we try to glorify like our life to make it feel like, oh, if we do this, we're super special because we've never done it before. But because of that, we kind of fall into this trap where we are in the cycle of like life and death. But I think that's all I really have to add other than that.
That's good. Both of you, it's covered really good. So yeah, the been there, done that takes on a special meaning for Jains, right? Because we have There's nothing left. We have not been. There's no space point. Oh, I forgot to bring the picture of the universe. But anyway, or a model, we have a 3D model. There's no space point where we have not been, and there is no material substance that we have not interacted with, and there are no, for the most part, there are no living beings with whom we have not had relationships. So, like, from each and every aspect, we have done everything. And I don't know if I asked this last time, but so there's one thing that we have not done before. Can anybody guess or take a stab at it? What do you think is just one thing that we have not done?
Take Diksha.
Take Diksha? Oh, okay, interesting. Anybody else?
Sorry, do you mind asking the question again?
So I said we have been there, done that, meaning we have done everything, right? Except for one. There's one, how should I put it? One bhav, one, okay, just to keep it simple, I'll say one act, one action, one thing that we have not done. Keep it very neutral thing. What would that be? Okay, Akshat.
Is it like moksha or like getting Kevagnan?
Okay, yeah, that is kind of obvious.
Yeah.
It's a little closer than
We'll
that.
kind of disqualify that answer. Right. We have
With
obviously we have,
samyaktva, like we just haven't gotten true understanding. Is it samyaktva that we
sorry, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I could not hear you initially, sorry, because I think I was talking. But
Jalpa had her hand raised too.
Lose connection.
I was just going to say vairāgya, but I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are doing good. So, right. So, when we say vairāgya, it would be the type of vairāgya that we had talked about 2-3 sessions back. The real vairāgya, the jnana with vairāgya. Vairāgya based on the true understanding.
Yes.
Vairāgya based on the true understanding of who I am and what's the nature of reality. So that, and then I think somebody said, Anushka, you said true understanding?
Yeah, I said samyaktva, like with
Correct.
like
Exactly. Yeah. So saṃvega-vairāgyārtham is the one state that we have not experienced before. So the opposite of saṃvega-vairāgyārtham, anybody wants to take a quick answer that quick? What's the opposite of saṃvega-vairāgyārtham? So saṃvega-vairāgyārtham is the state in which we have not been before. For the most part, like it's possible that some of you may have, but we'll assume we have not. Yeah, Jalpa.
Is it mithya-bhav? I don't know.
Exactly. Mithya or delusion, right? So enlightened perspective is something that we have never had before. And delusion is what we have been living in all our, for all of our existence. And why is that? Because I think I shared here, right? Or did I not? So when somebody attains saṃvega-vairāgyārtham, that's kind of the start of their journey to bliss. And that journey usually doesn't take more than a couple of lifetimes. It can be as quickly as one lifetime. It can be 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 27 in case of my Sai Bhagwan. But that's a very small amount of time compared to the infinite time that we have been around.
One thing I'd like to add to this, I was just listening recently to this Labdhi Vallabh Maharaj Sahib. He is he's the youngest Acharya right now, who recently got the Acharya Pad. And his pravachans, his sermons are very, very unique. They appeal to the youth a lot. He himself is very young. So he mentioned that if we, like Samyak also sounds like something out there to us. The way to look at it is whenever we take on some kind of identity, any identity, we go into this path of delusion. Because any identity we take on is not ours. It's something external. So something to think about there. And maybe we can come back to this identity part.
Yeah.
Because anytime we take on an identity, we take on everything around that identity and we make it our own. When we ourselves are a formless entity, we have our own unique identity, but it's not something we need to take on from outside.
Yeah, that
I don't know if that's making
slightly hard
sense,
to understand. So
but
let me try to elaborate
think about it a little bit. Yeah.
So generally, right, whenever I was just thinking, like we had a couple of new students join in our other the teenager class, and when I asked them to introduce, they were like, "Hey, my name is whatever, Akshata, not Akshata, but sorry, what was the name? It starts with A, but anyway, that's besides the point. And then my age is 15 years old, and that's all they said. I guess they could have said, I study in this place, or I am living in this place, or whatever. But if we think about it, right, like whenever we are asked to introduce ourselves, so the way we think about ourselves, so it's one thing to introduce based on the setting in which we are, but what do we think for ourselves, right? So generally, that's what we think for ourselves. That, hey, my name is Rakesh. I'm X years old. I work in this place. I have a family of these many members, and I was born in India, and I came to US. So all those are like part of my identity, and all that, those are not true in some sense. I mean, they are actually not. That's not who I am. That's not who really I am. So these all, and then where it gets more interesting is if we were to, so Apurva mentioned Diksha. So if we were to, if I were to say, it's not like we have not taken Diksha before. In fact, this is kind of might be a bit of a shock. It was shocking to me when I first heard this, that we have taken Diksha several times before. And to make it even more, what should I use? What's the word? Shocking, probably. The pictorial analogy, the visual that they give in the scriptures is that if we were, most of you know, I'm guessing all of you know, right, that when we do Samayik, we have the Charavdo, right? And then Maharaj Sahib has a similar Upkaran, which is called as Rajoharan, right? So it's a little bit longer than a Charavdo. So everybody familiar, right, with Rajoharan? That's like kind of a, you can say it's kind of a symbol of Diksha, right? Because they use that to make sure that everything is kind of, they inspect, right? And they use that to make sure that they don't step on any living being, even the smallest, the tiniest, like an ant or a spider or anything like that. Right, so it's a symbol of non-violence. It's a symbol of monkhood, the Jain monkhood. So the pictorial that they give is, if we were to count, right? So each time we take Diksha, we'll get in fact, that's also part of the Diksha procedure, is that the Guru gives the Rajoharan to the Sishya, right? So that's kind of. So if we were to take so every time, right? So one lifetime I'll have one Rajoharan, 2 lifetime I'll have 2, 3 I'll have 3. So anybody wants to guess how many Rajoharans we would have collected in our
collectibles
existence so far? Nobody wants to. Okay, yeah, Japa.
Infinite?
Yeah, I was about to say infinite, right? I mean, infinite does, infinite is like,
It's not that common that we took Diksha.
right. Infinite
So
would be
we
like
did-
if you were to take Diksha almost in every bhav,
Which we have.
that, like you can take Diksha only as a human being. So yeah, infinite is a high number, but so they in the middle of the universe, so the Jain concept of universe, there is a mountain called Mount Meru, and it's taller than Himalayas that we are familiar with, right? So Mount Everest. So if we were to make a pile of the Rajoharans that we have taken in the past, the height of that would exceed the height of this Mount Meru. So it's a lot, not infinite, but lots and lots, like thousands, 10,000s.
So what happened each time that we took Diksha, we took it as an external identity that we took on. So for example, like if I take Diksha and I say I am a sadhvi, and so everybody needs to bow down to me, and I am higher than other people because I have taken Diksha. All of these things are nothing to do with who I really am.
Yeah.
So anytime we take on even the taking and like taking Diksha, giving up everything in the sansar, is so that we can detach from everything, including all of the identities that we have taken on over the past infinite years. So discarding all of those identities is the process of moving towards samyaktva and going higher and higher on the gunasthana, the scale of qualities. So even though externally we did that, the bhav was something else. The goal was something else. So we may have followed like several rules and regulations, but inside our heart, we had some other kind of image of who I am. And that is really fundamental to samyaktva. We need to start with the process of I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. And when we have eliminated all of those identities, that's when we finally reach to who we really are. Is everything external? Any identity that we've taken on is not us. So from now, when we say identity, I mean, there are some from the Vyavhar perspective, from the practical perspective, obviously, if somebody asks you what is your name, you would have to give your name. But this is like how you feel within. Yeah, Jeff.
Is it safe to say that we had samyaktva, but not the pure kind? Like we still held on to part of our ego, part of our identities, and we still identified with it to the extent that we're still in this cycle, right?
It's safe to say that at best, we reached very close to Samyakva several times in our past, but we would not have attained Samyakva. In a rare case, it's possible that we could have attained Samyakva, lost it and will attain soon, and then get liberated. But that's very rare cases. So discarding those, most likely we can assume that we have not reached Samyakva. But definitely, similarly, in the scriptures, it does come that we have in the past, there were times when we got very close to Samyakva, but we could not overcome the final barrier. And like Neha said, right, like it's not only we want to get rid of all the worldly identities that we hold about ourselves, but even the religious, right? So like even to think that, hey, I'm a religious person, or once I take a monk, I'm a monk, that also is not conducive to Samyakva.
Akshat had a question. Yeah, raise his hand.
Yeah, I was wondering, is this like related to the concept we learned about vairāgya? You mentioned, I remember about how someone can get vairāgya through having a lot of knowledge. So is this what vairāgya is like doing? Is it inhibiting us from reaching that samyatva?
You mean the wrong type of vairagya, or the
Yeah,
one
the
that
wrong
doesn't
type of,
last?
yeah.
Right, right. That's quite likely. Yes. Every time,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some incident where it sparked something within us, and we felt like, yeah, the past dikshas that we would have taken would have been triggered by such events where something really shocked us, and in that moment we felt like, okay, everything is worthless, and we took diksha. But from within, we still had the attachments.
Yeah.
So we did not we did not give up that thought that everything else worldly is worthless, and it just cannot, it does not have the capacity to give me happiness. Even when we have a little bit of hope that something from this sansar is going to give me that everlasting happiness, then that's when, that little thought will develop over time. It can build more behaviors around it, and we would end up in that cycle again. So yes, Akshat, yes, it's quite likely that those were the other type of vairagyas. We never got to the point of fully understanding and accepting that everything around us is worthless.
Yeah, that's the heart of what we had talked kind of last time. This line from the Atma Siddhi Shastra, right, where when somebody truly believes that, hey, everything in the external world is worthless, it's kind of discarded matter. So it's kind of like dirty, impure, and I don't want to touch it, right? Or it's unreal. It's like a dream, so it's not doesn't have any basis in reality. So that part is hard to reach. Generally, even when somebody were to take diksha, like all the, like, hey, I'm part of this group, I'm part of that group, and my guru is this. So all the emphasis, it's okay to have that as a for dealing practically, that is fine, but not to make it a part of our belief system, and that's the hard part. It's very, very hard to do that, and therefore that's where we have failed miserably in our past.
So, and it's all related to the ego, right? The false ego. Every time that's what we are trying to protect, and then hold on to it, and then the whole web around it.
Yeah, but you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I'm just curious. It is extremely difficult to even get there, but even if you reach there, how do you hold on to it? Because if you have to coexist in sansar, you will need to have a little bit of that, right? Like a little bit of the identity, a little bit of, you can do this, but you can't do this. And that comes from identity, right?
Correct.
Like, even if you're a Diksharthi, like you will have to be part of some guru clan to kind of associate yourself in the right direction. So you're never really giving up identity completely.
And sometimes you take on an identity so that you can discard all the identities, right? So the taking diksha is discarding all the other identities. They give up their name, right? And take on a new name that the guru gives, all those things around it. They give up their family, wealth, everything. So it's discarding all of the identities in order to become the true self, to bring out the true self. So from a practical perspective, yes, it's okay to take on a certain identity to aid us to move in that direction. even if we don't take Diksha, we take on several identities, but if we become like, like if you're acting in a movie, right? Jalpa acted in a movie, the first movie that Atmaruchi made. So in that, I mean, Jalpa took on a role. And then after the movie was over, for a few days, yes, people, were calling her with that name in the movie and stuff like that. But eventually, I mean, in your heart, you never need to tell yourself that, hey, you're not really that. Right, Akshat? Or Akshat still feels he's Sanat Kumar Chakravarti?
Yeah.
Right. So, in the same way, if we are able to live in this sansar by knowing inside in our heart that this is really a role play, I'm part of this group for a temporary time, and it's not going to. I'm not going to be able to take this identity with me when I leave this body.
Yeah, it's all about external versus internal, right? So externally, it's okay. Externally, you can do exactly like what Neha just said. The all world is a stage, and we are playing our parts. So that kind of concept externally is fine. Internally is the most important.
So just keep a distance, because that is actually a healthy way even to have the sansaric relationships, regardless of the spiritual benefit. Even keeping ourselves sane, if we go overboard in any identity, we're going to be in trouble. Because if I'm a manager in my at my workplace, right? And if I go overboard, I'm a manager. So everybody, then there is an expectation around that people need to behave in a certain way, or I need to manage, I need to be in control. And because of all of that, there will be stress, there will be conflicts, because everybody has their identity that they are trying to defend.
I was going to say, you bring the identity to at home too, and then you would want to manage people at home.
Yes, and then some people get drunk, and then they are blabbering about who they are, and it sounds so funny because they are in this drunken state, and they still think they are. My mama and mummy and all of that have some common joke. There was some guy on the street that used to get drunk, and then he would think he is like the owner of that street. So they would call him, Raja Pat is what. So basically, a role of the Raja of that road is what he would take on, that wear that imaginary crown, and then behave like that, and everybody would be laughing because he's drunk, sitting on the street like a beggar with dirty clothes and everything. So that's how identity is such a dangerous thing.
Yep, and that's how the wise, the Jnanis, see us. All the boastings that we do about things that are unreal in the ultimate sense.
So staying grounded too, in order to stay grounded, this concept that Bhagavan has given us helps. Even though, let's say, if our goal is not moksha, is like way out there, but just to stay sane right now and be able to have a healthy relationship with everyone, where we are not over expecting from something, we are not going overboard in terms of our territorialism. All of those things, it's helpful.
So again, the two things that we had talked about, right? Like saṃvega and nirved. So not clinging on to the worldly identities, that's part of vairāgya, that's part of nirved. But then we cannot, it's very hard, it's almost impossible to stay without associating with something, without connecting. So, right, you cannot just be disconnecting with everything. So the connection needs to be made to who I truly am. So that's the saṃvega part. And that's also kind of the foundation stone of Samyak Darshan as well.
And that's also bhakti. That's also the bhakti aspect. You connect with the entities that are eternal, that are pure. And because I am that identity too, and I want to reach there. So is that making sense? Does anyone have any comments or thoughts on it?
Yeah.
Jill.
Isn't it difficult to kind of have the continuity of that kind of bhav for Bhagwan, unless you are very connected to a guru?
Great. Yes.
What kind of bhav?
That
Like
connection.
the whole, I'm Atma kind of, the jnana that you have, it's dormant, right? And we constantly need to remind ourselves.
Yeah.
But if you're in constant contact with the guru, then it's easier. And that's why people take diksha, right? Because they want to be in that frame of
Absolutely.
thought all the time.
Yes.
Whereas
Yeah.
Yes.
when you're like a normal person, living in sansar, you will go in and out,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, absolutely right. So that's actually that's the true purpose. Right? It's basically like if somebody is extremely talented student at whatever science or engineering or medicine, right? In order to realize their potential, to reach their potential, they will go to like Harvard or Yale. So that's kind of how Diksha is. But then if after getting admission, if after starting Harvard or Yale, if I just spend all my time chit chatting with everybody else, right? What are those called? The Greek societies, right? If I just spend time doing that and don't and forget why I came to Harvard in the first place, then obviously it's not going to matter, right? So that's the big mistake that we have made in our past, right? Even when we took Diksha, even when we were born in Jain family, even when we had some interest in Jainism, but the true purpose, we never kept the true purpose in mind because we could not establish the connection that hey, this is the ultimate thing.
So,
Right?
Srimad Rajchandraji, the quotation that Rakesh had shared earlier, he has said that for infinite lifetimes, I have given that infinite lifetime to the body and the various identities that I took on. But this bhav is the one where I'm not going to do that. That this bhav is going to be for self-realization. So we've wasted infinite lifetimes in that direction. And so the purpose for this bhav is to self-realize because, I may never get this chance again, never get this understanding again.
Yeah. So so definitely, yeah, Diksha is a conducive environment and the goal is there. But that's not to say that that's the only way. Ultimately, it matters as to how deeply how much this understanding is penetrated, how deep this understanding is penetrating into me, right? And that typically happens when one starts applying it in the daily life, and that's the step that I want to myself take and also encourage all of you to do it, right? Where we just not come here on Sunday and talk about it, but if I can take the learnings, right, and apply in my day-to-day life, and then realize for myself, oh yeah, this is what Bhagwan said, this is what the gurus have been saying, the wise ones have been saying, and yeah, now I can attest to it myself from my own experience. So when we start doing that, then those will be the true reminders that will keep us on the right track. And sorry.
And it does, Jalpa, you're right. It does help tremendously to have that anchor of the Guru, because Bhagwan is way out there, and Bhagwan is not, we are not so connected that we can hear Bhagwan right now. But the Guru is someone we can closely connect with right now, and they can relate to our situation. They can understand and advise on the smaller steps that we need to take. So that definitely helps. And, for that, we don't need to take Diksha. We can be in touch with Tattvaarth Guru even right now.
But again, I would emphasize that even coming in contact with a Guru, or even being very close to a Guru, if the purpose is not clear within myself, right, then I would not be able to fully leverage that. So it's exactly like the kind of very similar to the Harvard example, right? Like, even if I feel like, hey, after going into Harvard, I want to be like the president of this Alpha Gamma Tau or whatever society, and that's my purpose, then I would not realize my true purpose. And that's where the danger is. And that's why again and again I say that, hey, the only possibility, the only high probability path that I can see is that we ourselves internalize these teachings, and the only way to internalize them is to put them to test in our day-to-day life. Right? If we can interpret our experiences using this framework, then our understanding becomes sharp, and then it kind of becomes a nice flywheel kind of thing. That with a sharper understanding, we'll look at the world in a different lenses than how we were looking at it a few years back, when we were not aware of what Bhagwan or gurus have said. And then it will further allow us to see the experiences in the true light.
Like a feedback.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of the heart of this. So even though this sutra is a little bit further in the Apurva, just 1 second, further in the Tattvaarth Sutra, but it's just an amazing sutra. So I thought like it's very related to what. So it has the two words saṃvega and we talk vairāgya is same as nirved. So it has saṃvega and vairāgya, and what it's saying is that jagat-kāya-svabhāvau saṃvega-vairāgyārtham. So meaning, in order to foster the true saṃvega, the true vairāgya, one can contemplate on the nature of jagat and on the nature of kaya. So they're giving two things. Jagat is the universe and kaya is the body. And I have two more slides to elaborate on that, but we can take Apurva, was it? Sorry,
Yeah,
I forget
Apurva's
who was.
question.
Yeah.
We talked about guru as one avenue. What about meditation and being able to just dedicate some time to really do Nokar mantra or Samaik or any type of meditation without a guru, but you just yourself trying to be calm and cite a mantra, or at least have some dhyan?
Yeah, definitely. That's what you want to do. The biggest role of a guru is to make sure that we are not deviating from the path, because that's the big danger, right? Like I can start with doing 108 knockouts every day, and then I can even go on to do more than that. But am I still clear on what my purpose is, right? So that's where gurus can knowing what our weaknesses are. So they have a very good handle on tapping onto our weaknesses, and therefore they can detect that, hey, maybe you think that you are doing the true dharmic practices, but in reality you are just fostering identities.
So a guru is like, here we are talking about a Gītārth guru, an experienced and Atmagnani guru. someone who has experienced themselves, not just someone who is walking around with the label of guru. So someone who has experienced, someone who we can connect with. And because there are many pitfalls in this path, right? So even in meditation, Apurva, there is meditation can calm us down, right? So and that feels good, and we feel like we have achieved it, and that's actually not the goal. So the calming of the mind is just one very, very initial phase in meditation. In Jainism, we go even further than that, which is kayotsar, dhyan and kayotsar. And dhyan is not just meditation. Dhyan is much deeper than that. So, so we need a guide, and I would say, like, if a lot of times a friend, someone who is a Kalyan Mitra, can be an initial guide or a day-to-day guide, and then a guru. We can, connect with a guru, and let's say once in 15 days or 30 days or 60 days, we talk to them or we write to them and we get advice from them. So it's a nice system that we have, where anytime we are in trouble, anytime we have any problems, we have a safety net. So meditation is a great, extremely powerful tool. I would like to call it dhyan, because meditation is basically, focusing our attention on one thing. But dhyan is much deeper than that.
Okay, got it.
So we can actually, when we did the series for Jain Alert, we had 12 bhavnas. So those are contemplations, 12 categories of contemplations that are highly recommended in Jainism. And then we had, we would do a practical with it. And in fact, we wanted to do this with our Tattvaarth ARB course as well. So maybe, from next time, we will start introducing a few minutes of that. So at least you get some, taste of it.
Yeah, actually, it kind of reminds me of anecdote that Guru Shri shares several times. Is like one disciple, he believes that he has attained self-realization, right? And so he goes to his guru, and his guru tells him that, okay, tell me what you know about our own nature, right? About soul, about Atma. And he starts talking, and he is like citing all different references from the scriptures and everything. And the guru is not paying as much attention to the words, but he's looking at his eyes and his expressions, the non-verbals. And after 48 minutes, the guru tells him that the pictures of pancake are not going to fill the stomach. Right? So meaning, like, even though he had a very good vocabulary and he could convince anybody and everybody, but until and unless you have the true experience, that these are only words. So that's the most important thing. And that's the danger, right? Once we start learning a little bit, we feel like, hey, I know quite a bit. So we have a few minutes, right? Okay. So coming back to this.
One more point about the guru. Sorry, I meant to mention it and it slipped my mind. So the guru is there to keep our ego in check, because there are like tons of psychological studies which have proven that we are always biased towards ourselves. So finding our own mistakes ourselves is going to be extremely, extremely, extremely difficult, because the ego is so subtle It is so very difficult. And that's why we talk about how infinite lifetimes and numerous times we've taken Diksha too, but we have been able to keep that ego intact. And that's why we are here.
Okay, so the two things, right? So and it's kind of amazing because it's one is like the entire universe, so it's kind of like the big micro, and then other is macro, the vast, and then the other is the tiny body, right? So the body. So this is why, like, sometimes people might like, if we look at the structure of the Tattvaarth Sutra, which is the basis for our discussions here, right? So why is there a need to learn about physics of the matter, right? Why is there a need to learn about how geographical the cosmos is, right? The geography. What is there to a need to learn about all the different types of living beings, like 1 sense, 2 sense, 3 sense, 4 sense, 5 sense? What is there a need to learn about all the karmic operations, right? Like how we acquire karmas and how we and what kind of effects those have on us. Right? So the entire goal is just one and one, right? Which is to, by understanding all of this, I can understand who I am, and that's the biggest goal. So all of these should help us in getting there. Right? And as you guys summarized very nicely at the beginning, right? How do I make this? If I truly understand the nature of the universe, right? The cosmos, then I can relate to the fact that, yeah, I have indeed been to all the places, right? So the majority of us have that. What's the travel thirst? No, not travel thirst. There's a word for it.
Wanderlust.
Yeah,
Wanderlust.
exactly. Wanderlust. Yep, that's it. So the majority of us have that wanderlust, right? Because that's kind of how, if you think about it, that's what we have done in the past. Wander from one birth to one lifetime to another lifetime. So everybody likes to uh, go to different places, and then the whole social media is kind of based on it also, for the most part. And combined with the fact that the nature of mind is that it likes novelty, new things. So like same thing, but packaged in a new, bundled in a new package. So all of that, we need to come out of that, right? So that is one part. And here in the sutra, they are just talking about we will talk more about how vast is, like that. That's also an amazing thing. If we kind of, I think we touched upon it a little bit last time, with the concept of when we were talking about the space. So space is infinite, and we are living in a strip on the universe, and even there, the human beings, like if we show in the 3D picture, we are like such a tiny dot in the entire universe, right? So to then boast about that, hey, I have a in India they usually boast about this, right? Like I have a 5 BHK or 7 BHK. In US, what would be the equivalent? I don't know. One of you can say. Maybe I've heard the term Mac mention, or $1 million house. But our house is such a small dot in the entire universe, so this line, I think, is very poignant. The sheer scale of the universe renders individual is repeated twice, worldly ambitions structurally insignificant. And then the second input is the body, right? So we spend so much time taking care of our external appearances, right? Because we identify ourselves so strongly with that, and therefore want to project that around to the world. But basically, like, the nature of the body is it's impure, it's temporary, decaying, getting old every instant, every minute, every second, every millisecond, microsecond. So the realization that the vehicle, and that's again a nice word, it's the vehicle that we are living in. So vehicle we obsess over outfitting and protecting is inherently flawed, temporary, and in a constant state of decay. So these two things, right? We if we can build upon that, right, and in our day-to-day experiences, validate, right? Keep getting more and more evidences that yeah, indeed this is true, indeed this is true, indeed this is true. Then that would keep our vairāgya, our nirved and saṃvega on the right track, and therefore lead us towards saṃvega-darshan. So I think I know sorry today we ran a little bit, we were a little bit late in joining, but we are, I think we are at a place where we talked about this last time. Oh, I think I remember, but maybe I don't know if I remember completely. What was Shaily's question from last time?
It was more about how do we identify someone through their soul, but not the
Right,
body.
exactly. So three steps. First, who do you think is the most natural, who do you think is most naturally we can associate with soul and not their external form or the external appearance?
I would say Marasat.
Okay, good. Generally, even it's a little bit hard because Maharaj said, right? Are you sure about Maharaj said? Okay, I'm going to check on that because if somebody is not wearing the white,
Yeah, you're right.
right?
That's right.
So typically, Bhagwan we can say. So first step is to look at Bhagwan, and we fail miserably even in there, right? So that's something we need to learn. That's another thing that the once we get that perspective, like who truly is Bhagwan, and we have spent time on that before, right? The four key qualities of who is a true Dev. So if I look at Bhagwan, so when I'm doing darshan, if I can look at Bhagwan for who Bhagwan is, not for the external things that Bhagwan have, right? Not for the angi or the necklace or the flowers or anything else. Like those are all the number of followers, the number of people that are doing bhakti or so on. But what's the true nature of Bhagwan, right? So that's like we see Bhagwan as the pure soul. Bhagwan as Atma. So Paramatma is Atma. That's step one. Step two is using that to see myself as Atma. And then step three is to see the entire world, all the living beings as same as me, as same as Bhagwan, and then I am same as Bhagwan, and then all living beings are same as me. That's the logical progression.
So one thing that really aids us in getting to that is contemplation. Anushka, by the way, her laptop died, so she's trying to rejoin. Okay, she's back. So one thing that really helps is contemplation. So like when we are in Derasar or when we are sitting, quietly doing what Apurva suggested, meditating, we start with contemplation and we think about these things and take the daily incidents of life. Like if I look at an ant right now, imagine myself being that ant, having had that body before, and how I would have progressed and how I got into this Manushya Bhav. And what is it that, who is it that I really am? The, the pure soul with the infinite knowledge is stuck in that small body of an ant. And how can I, make sure that I don't go back into these type of realms so that my potential is not limited. So those kind of contemplations, like taking, this is just like an ant is a small example, but everyday things that you can think about a little bit. And that is really, really, really critical and really important every single day. And then once you start doing that, you will start having these internal contemplations at any time during the day. It will become a habit. So even while you are at work, a few seconds that you have in between, that mode of contemplation will start. And then you will reach a situation where that mode is on at all times. And you are constantly observing each and every incident, not like completely getting immersed in it where you are lost and you're just going with the flow, but you're observing it. And there's a lot of control in observing, right? Because you have a choice then on behavior, on words, on thoughts. And once you start observing yourself like that, then you can see yourself as the observer, and that is who we really are. I know it sounds tough, but give it a try.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, Chalika.
Yeah, like somewhere I have heard this mindful living or intentional living kind of brings that intention into it, which gives a pause to everything that you do so that you're not just blindly following or just mindlessly doing things,
Right.
yeah, generally the only caution or caveat I would put there is like the typical interpretation of mindfulness is with awareness, like meaning you know what you are doing. But here we want to say awareness plus intention, right? Like meaning having some preliminary understanding of what my goal state is, of who I am. So that needs to be woven in to the awareness. It's not just awareness for awareness sake, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, as an initial stage, it can be helpful to think like that, like be more intentional with your day to day, whatever you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, I think what helps is to, first of all, being able to catch those moments and being able to observe. But then there has to be some purpose of doing that too, right? So, not just, there's a lot of talk about mindful eating, which is great. You put away your phone and you're just eating and you're just observing like all of the tastes, all of the things that went into it, whatever you're doing, just no other thoughts. That's definitely great. But, that doesn't take us any further into who we really are, because we whatever we experience is at the level of senses. And that's not who we are. We are not the mind either.
Yeah, I see your point. Basically, awareness is the first stage, and then the second would be, the intention would be to detach, right? And be like the observer on the riverbank.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Girishbhai always talks about this watcher on the hill, where you're on the hilltop and you're watching all this commotion going on below.
Below is our mind, emotion going in our mind.
True. That's the true commotion.
Okay.
Okay.
Any
All
other
right.
question?
I think we can.
Ellie has yeah, that's fine. If you have a quick question, we can take it, or at least we can put it for next time. At least here, listen to the question.
Just a follow up, I think Rakishan, when you said that how do we identify someone with through soul, is understanding Bhagwan's quality and then identify like I am like same quality as Bhagwan or same as Bhagwan. I think that's where the difficulty is, I think, disconnected, is because
Yeah.
Because we know we are not at the level of Bhagwan. So how can
Right.
I identify I have all the qualities Bhagwan? So I think that's where I personally have that difficulty.
Wait, so I was thinking like your question, like the
When
step 3.
Yeah.
What is? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think when you're mentioning like the steps of like the question when I asked, so that's the step like where I have difficulty of like connecting, because I know what Bhagwan's quality is it, and but the second step is like identifying
Yeah.
myself that I have same
Exactly.
qualities where it is.
Right. So most of the times, right, like we literally put Bhagwan on a pedestal, right? So meaning like you say, okay, Bhagwan was great, Bhagwan did all of this, but I have nothing to do with it. We don't say that verbally or explicitly, but that's kind of how our
It's more like Bhagwan is where
attitude is.
Bhagwan is, I am where I am.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm happy for Bhagwan that Bhagwan is Bhagwan, but I am happy for myself that I'm not a Bhagwan. Right? So that we need to break that. Right. So yeah, it's kind of like we are be able to see the ghee. I think all of you understand what ghee is, right? Be able to see ghee in milk, right? So we are the raw milk, but we have the potential to be turned into ghee. So whatever the nature of Bhagwan is exactly same as my nature. Bhagwan has manifested it. For me, I have to. It's latent. It's hidden. It's dormant. So that's where we have to work on. But the work will start only if I start with that belief, right? And that's what is the problem. And not just a problem of this lifetime, but a problem of past too, right? Because we have not, we kind of hesitate to accept that completely. Like, so that's what we need to not just say that at a very conscious surface level, but make it more and more deep. Like it should penetrate into our all the layers of our existence, essentially.
So we can start small with one quality that we like in Bhagwan and make it ours. So any quality that you like of Bhagwan, you can tell yourself that I'm going to develop that quality, and Bhagwan, give me the power to do that. Give me the, shower your blessings on me so that I can develop this quality. And then, gradually as we work on those qualities and we keep observing ourselves with the help of a guru too, and a Kalyan Mitra, a friend, a benevolent friend that can tell us, hey, this is where you're going wrong, or this is probably a different path that you need to take, and we can slowly develop those. And once we have manifested even a little bit of a quality, then, like Girish Bhai or when Gurudev Shri also says that if we give our little finger or, one finger to the Guru, then the Guru will take all of us, or your entire self, so that they can transform and sculpt you into who you really are.
That's a good way actually to put it through and practice.
Now we can all try that, and we can probably take that as a takeaway and homework for this week, where we ask Bhagwan for one quality, any quality that we like. We get the choice to choose any one good quality of Bhagwan and then work on that.
Okay, let's pause here. So if I said anything against Chinagnya, or if I said anything that hurt anyone, that Muchamdi. Shiv Mastu Sarva Jagata Parahita Nirta Bhavantu Bhutagana Dosha Prayantu Nasham Sarvatra Sukhi Bhaktu Loka Sarva Mangal Mangalyam Sarva Kalyana Karanam Pradhanam Sarva Dharmanam Jainam Jaiti Shashi Mal Sai Bhagwan Sadgurudev. Jai Jinendra.
Tejendra.
Nice interaction. Nice
Jai
questions.
Jinendra. Thank you.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra. Good night.